Hello, everybody, and welcome to this evening's edition of the Hearts of Men podcast, sponsored by the Empowering Perspective community. I am one of your hosts, Dwayne Dwyer, and I am joined this evening by Chris from across the table, or the other side of the table, as I like to call him. And I am also joined by the son of Timothy this evening, and he got his rabbit ear straight. So we're pleased to have these two gentlemen with us. Don't worry, I know some of you guys are sweating right now. Minister Roland Walker, he's coming. He already talked. I already talked to him, so he will be with us this evening. Um, but again, great Friday evening, everybody. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
We talked earlier.
We did.
I'm I'm tried, but I'm persevering.
There you go. That's what's important. I love it. I love it. Son of Timothy, how are you, my friend?
Man, life is going on, but we steady pushing forward.
There you go. There you go.
So,
I appreciate that, man. And those are all wise words for everybody who's listening, right? You will be tried. I don't care what you got going on in your life. It's inevitable. You will be tried, but you must persevere to get through it. On the backside of those things, we call those testimonies. You will have that to share with other people en route. And Mr. Gaddy just stated, right? Things going on, but he's going to get through it. And I am believing, excuse me, I am believing right now with him that he is going to make it through it. He and his family, great. He and his family together will make it through it. And you know what? We're all going to smile and talk about that particular event as time comes. I do not want to miss this opportunity. I want to do it live. So Mr. Gaddy did not know I was going to do this, but I'm putting his wife on front right now. Her birthday is tomorrow. So shout out to Miss Gaddy. Happy
Oh, happy
early birthday.
birthday.
Yeah, happy early birthday.
it's happy birthday to my baby. Yeah.
You see
We
that
love it.
smile on his face when he talk about
Did
his
you
woman. You
did you
see
see
that.
it though?
You see that. I
This is
love
what
that.
we talk about though, man. That's what true relationship is all about. When you think of that person, you just got a glow about you.
His face just lit up.
I love it, man. I love it. Listen, shout out to the most amazing chat, man. We appreciate you guys every week. I mean, they always show up and show out. So, welcome, Michelle Ray. Welcome, Ms. Charina. Great to see you. Welcome, Cassandra. Welcome to everybody who was out there in the land that's not logged into the point to where they can actually speak. That's okay. We appreciate you as well. Again, this if this is your first time joining the Hearts of Men podcast, welcome. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and hit the like button and share it with somebody else because trust me, we're going to do our very best to add value to you and your loved ones on this evening. Welcome, Lisa Keys. Always great to see you. Brother Minister, how are you this evening, sir? You muted, sir. You
You
muted.
I'm doing all right. I'm rushing today.
I know you were, man. I know it. I told them you was coming, so nobody get upset because they would have got
Man, they,
mad at
they
me.
ain't worried about me. They was like, good.
No, man, I would have got a whole bunch of text messages, and emails. And, where's Roland? Where's Roland? I tell you, man, they would have
We
been
want
picking it up.
easy.
I know. Right? Listen, man, I believe as always we're gonna have a phenomenal conversation, and I just want to be honest with some of you guys out there right now. We may challenge some perspectives this night, but that's kind of like the idea behind the show, right? Again, this is the Empowering Perspective community, and what we do is we value different perspectives. And this evening, we're going to talk about something that I think is going to be significant. The title, Is It Difficult to Be Honest? Now, I kind of want to set the conditions before we dive into this because, and gentlemen, if I say something wrong, please let me know. But for years, it's been said that, we like to say that men like to provide and protect, but, certain pots of individuals believe that men do one thing well, and that is lie. And again, if I say something wrong, please correct me. I've heard that for years and years and years. In fact, one of the things that I learned about myself as I was growing up is I had this degree of self consciousness because one of the things that I've learned that if you have a gap in your teeth, you were automatically assumed to be a liar. So, and if you guys pay attention, when I laugh, I always cover my mouth, and it's not because that's my way of laughing. It's because those are old habits that I, acquired growing up because I didn't want anybody to know I had a gap. So That being said, gentlemen, we're going to talk about, is it difficult to be honest? Now, you guys know how I am because I like to baseline understanding, and honesty is a very simple definition. Very simple, very succinct, and straight to the point. It is free of deceit and untruthfulness. Bottom line up front, it is all about sincerity. So, gentlemen, the first thing I'm going to throw at you this evening is I want you to share your perspective based upon some situation that took place in your past where it presented the potential for honesty in that particular situation, but you chose otherwise.
Hmm. A situation where I had to, I wanted to be honest, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
Yee.
Anybody. It doesn't matter.
Okay, since y'all acting like y'all ain't never lied, I'm gonna jump in.
We knew you go first.
You know, I get a safe space for y'all so they can pile on me. I used to fancy myself as a good liar. I did. As if there could be a thing. It's kind of an oxymoron. But I think one lies. Well, I can only speak for me. I used to lie because I was scared of the consequence for what was coming. And if I lie about it and they don't necessarily know, because I used to lie until you got to show me a picture or something. And then I'd be like, that looked like me, but no, that ain't me. He ain't got the hook on the back of his head. You know, I make it up as I went. And I never liked it. I never liked lying because I always felt like, you know, they're saying I'm a grown but man, you know, like, especially when you became an adult.
Yeah.
Then it was like, what I got to lie to you for? Like, if I did something, I did it. Like, but especially when somebody's playing the field, when you're doing things like that, yeah, lies come up that where it's like I'm only gonna tell you so much of the lie, so much of the because if I give you everything, it's gonna in my mind it's gonna destroy instead of actually purging.
Yeah.
And what it does, it continues to have that seed of deceit in there in the person's heart. And when the person feel like you ain't told everything, it's gonna leave a seed of doubt in theirs.
Now you said something, and I don't want to get on it right now, but we're definitely going to talk about that here soon. You said you lied because you feared the consequences. Please
Yes.
remember that because I want to dive into those potential consequences coming pretty soon. But thank you for sharing that. So, Mr. Gaddy and Mr. McClellan.
Oh, you said my last name right.
Yes. Listen, funny joke. You know, because I'm an instructor at the cyber school, I mess people names up all the time. And I ask them to look, don't charge it to my heart, charge it to my birthplace. Right? Great state of Georgia. We don't pronounce anybody's name correct. So again, thank you for sharing that with me. So your thoughts.
I guess Roland hit it on the head. I used to be like that too. Like I was afraid of what was going to happen, so I figured I would omit some things or not tell the whole truth or just flat out be dishonest just so I wouldn't have to feel those consequences. But once the truth was found out, I felt those consequences plus some. And then it got to the point where everything that came out of my mouth was questioned. And that's the thing that that's the thing that nobody thinks about. Like when you lie and you get caught in that lie, everything after that is mistrusted. And then I just got to the point where it's like, why lie? What's the point?
Yeah.
Plus, I'm going to be candid. I used to smoke a lot of weed. So it was difficult for me to remember stuff. So I'm like, you really don't have to remember the truth because the truth is the truth. So just tell the truth.
You
People
know,
deal with it. People are gonna get mad at you. People are gonna leave you. You might have to get into a fight. You might feel some type of consequence afterwards. But when you lie, there's like a chemical reaction that happens in your body. Like you feel this cold. embarrassing, you're not telling the truth kind of feeling.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? This is why they hook you up to a lie detector, because that lie detector can detect certain rhythms that you have when you're not telling the truth.
That's right.
So it's like, why not just tell the truth and deal with it?
See, listening to you say that, it kind of reminds me because I heard this years ago, and it says, and it kind of, and I might mess this up. So if I mess it up and you guys heard it, correct me. It says it was along the lines of telling a lie is more difficult than telling the truth because if you tell a lie, you're going to have to tell another lie to cover up that lie, and then in essence, you're going to end up telling a string of lies. So why do all of the lying when you can just tell the truth one time and be done with it?
It's like a full-time job you don't get paid for.
Absolutely. Man, I love you. Mr. Gaddy, what you got, sir?
So mine it may be a little more comical to me. I don't know about anybody else, right? For all my soldiers, former soldiers out there, go ahead and get your laugh out at me, right? So private gambling, right? One day I'm not in the barracks. I'm at a homeboy house, right? We kicking it, and I didn't feel like going to PT the next morning. So I remember I texted my NCO and I was like, hey, uh, not feeling too well. I'm sitting here on a toilet, just running the excuses so I can get away, at least come in late and not have to do PT, right?
Yeah.
But what I forgot was we weren't doing PT, we were going to a formation, right? Unbeknownst to me. So I get the driving and I'm leaving early because I'm about to go to the store, get me a pack of Newports, get me something to drink, get the slow ride, bump the music, roll the window down, smoke flying out the car, everything. And as I'm rolling down the street at Fort Jackson, I forget that we go into a formation. So what happens? I get stopped by a formation. In this formation I get stopped by just so happen to be my unit marching to this mass formation on Fort Jackson. And first I don't say nothing. He look in my car, he hears my music, he see my cigarette, and he just nods his head. Yeah. Needless to say, I think I had about every exercise known to man possible in my Rolodex for me to get a 300. I learned it all that day. If I didn't know an exercise, I figured it out that day. I found out what modified lunges were. Uh, I figured out you could low crawl on freshly waxed floor after I waxed it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That sounds painful. Sounds painful. For those who don't know,
Sheesh.
man, in the army, we use physical training as punishment. And this is, and I want to make sure I stress it. This is back in the day. This is not the army of today, right? But back in the day, we would use physical training as punishment. So if you mess
It
up,
was not
then
punishment. It was corrective measures.
that's what it is today.
Hold
Yeah.
on, low crawling on a wax floor? That sounds like punishment.
Oh man, I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand. I'm just being transparent, man. We would do some things to where, yeah, it's not, and I don't mean like to the point where it would be bad, but yeah, you would challenge a person's, identity based upon some of the exercises you put them through. You can break a grown man down by making him duck walk for a quarter of a mile. Just being honest. But I, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get what he is saying. Absolutely. It is conditioning and weakness leaving the body. You guys are tough in the chats, man. I love it. But I got what he is saying. In fact, I got what everybody's saying because I'm just going to just give a very simple example. Trust me, all of us have situation after situation after situation after situation that we can bring to the table. But I mean, it's just some of the simplest stuff that we could come up with. Like somebody who invites me to a thing, and let's just say I don't want to go. And I would make up an excuse about something I have going on instead of just telling them no because I don't want to hurt their feelings. And so that's kind of like a thing. Like we get to the point to where we would just And I'm not saying we as just the panel members. I think we as in general, people in general, we would just tell a person something that is not really the truth, but we do it because we think we're preserving their feelings and we don't want to hurt their feelings and so forth and so on. And so I think that's important to consider. So, that's just a small example. Can I give you about 10 more? Absolutely. I surely can. But I think everybody on this panel, everybody in the chat, they can do it as well. So I think it's important to understand when it comes down to this idea of it being difficult to be honest. I think the first thing that we must do is be honest with ourselves about the times that we were dishonest. If you have constantly told yourself a lie about the lies that you've told, then the only things you're going to do is continue telling more lies. So at a certain point, you got to get to the point where you're honest with yourself. And I'm so appreciative of the gentleman that I have on this panel, because again, as you can see, we have no problem just saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, we've told lies before. And here's the best part about it. I started off by saying that there's a stigma out there that says that all men lie. Fact. I'm not going to dispute that. But guess what? When you look at the word man, right? Man, all men lie. Well, men is also in the word of women. So all women lie too. Don't get it twisted. Every person has lied in their life at some particular point in time. Some may still be practicing more so than others, but every person has lied. So we got to get to the point to where we're actually mature to understand the lies that we'll tell, be honest with ourselves, and actually dig into it. So Michelle said, yes, I believe that it is simply because many people do not like, accept, let alone want to hear the truth. Honesty is an extension of truth and understanding. Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. Let me see. Lisa Keys says, is it we don't want to hurt a person's feelings or protecting how they might feel about us if we don't agree to do what they want us to do? Oh, I like that. Gentlemen, I'm going to let that one. I'm going to let you have it, that one. Man, that was good.
Ooh. It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. Sometimes we don't want the other person's feelings to be hurt, so we sugarcoat what we should just brutally say, or we leave out things, small little details that'll make them feel good about themselves. And if they feel good about themselves, and that means that if they feel good about themselves in the way that we told them the truth, then that means that they may feel good about us and trust us in what we say. Problem is, we do that a little too much. We should just flat out say, hey, this is what it is. This is what it is, like it or not. Because like I've been saying on the previous shows, I cannot tell you that I love you and not be honest with you at the same time. It just doesn't work.
I feel you, but I'm gonna put a twist on it because she opened up something here. Because there's people in our lives, and maybe even us sometimes, we have created such a boundary around us to where truth is not accepted, and those who are around us understand that. And sometimes it's by our attitudes, by seeming as if we're unapproachable with certain things or with certain truths, i.e., every married man, either on this panel or in the chat, understands what I mean when you don't like your woman's new hairstyle that she loves. Let's just be real.
I don't know.
Yeah. Rolling out, but you already know how that goes.
You know me. Nope.
Yeah, you're gonna say it, but here's the thing: not all of us, or not every man, is willing to go through the back and forth.
See, but there's no back and forth when you say if you like it, I love it. Do I like it? I ain't got to worry. But and I understand what you're saying, and to what she's saying, I think sometimes when it comes to lying, it's about the other person, but it's not about the other person. Because I'm gonna speak for me, every time you say you're a man doesn't mean that you're a man. Sometimes we think we're a man just because you got two balls and a cane. But sometimes what happens is you really aren't a man, you aren't man enough. You aren't mature enough to accept the consequences of what comes with your behavior. So in turn, you say, okay, I'm gonna lie about it. And you say, well, I'm just trying not to hurt your feelings. No, you're not. You're trying to save your pride. And you aren't secure enough in what's going on with us. So you twist it so that it's better in your favor because it's not better in the other person's favor.
Can it be saving my peace?
Oh, it's gonna save peace, but what it's doing is saving your peace for not getting. It's like when your mother story. You know, I always get stories. My daughter, when we were young, my daughter used to always follow me. I used to play ball. She used to bounce the ball in the house, and I told her, I said, "Hey, your mama gonna get you for bouncing that ball in the house." And she said, "Okay," just ignored me. I'm like, "Okay, I do it, so she can do it." So she bouncing the ball. She broke one of her mother figurines.
Oh.
And you know what she did? And this one I said, dang, my baby's a born liar. Because she was around 5 years old. She came and she said, I said, your mama gonna get you. You know what she said? She said, yeah, daddy, but mama can't whoop you. So she wanted me to lie and say I did it. I'm like, boy, if you ain't your daddy's child, come give me a hug.
So how big of a lie did you tell on her behalf? I'm just
Man,
curious.
just throw that thing in the trash and don't say nothing about it.
Oh my goodness. I love it. I like the fact you brought in peace, Tawami, because I think my perspective on this, based upon what you said, is it really creating peace or is it creating a new version of anxiety that can potentially exist once you create that norm? You understand what I'm saying? Kind of going back to what Roland said in his great example. I like the fact that you brought that to the table because I think a lot of times what we believe at that particular point in time, I am going to respond the way I know this person want me to respond, but now I have just created a new condition. And that condition is that person can come back to me with that exact same line of questioning, and I must respond that way because that's their new expectation.
100%. You definitely do because let's just be honest, right? And I think I saw it in the chat too. Let's just be honest. I know that I'm not really saving just prolonging my peace for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the rapid ears went out again.
Move the antenna, man. Just move the antenna around.
There you go. Go ahead, bro.
All right, we back.
I ain't even see nothing. I don't know.
You stopped. You paused.
You good?
Man, get
Yeah,
the
you
rabbit
paused.
ears and
Man, you may I can't stand you. But nah, all I'm saying, like, the reality is all I'm trying to do is when we
right.
move our situation to the left a little bit. We're not trying to really fix anything. We just don't want drama. We don't want to argue. We don't want to fight. And that becomes a temporary fix because one day you're gonna slip and say the truth. And then you got to backtrack everything that you said. And you got to build trust upon every lie that you actually created during that cycle. And I think that's the rabbit hole that Coach was talking about earlier, that lie that builds upon lies. And whether it's your parents, whether it's your friends or your sibling, you have to rebuild that because now they're thinking about everything you said during that time.
Yes.
So I wasn't disagreeing with you. I'm just saying the reality is sometimes we do lie trying to prolong a little bit of peace. Maybe I'm just not feeling it right now.
Right.
I don't want to go through. So, babe, I like that hair. But next time she put on, she was like, you know what? It looked better last time. But that's all we're doing.
Okay. All right. I love it. Listen, man, shout out to the chats, man. I see the information you guys are putting in there. I'm picking and choosing when I want to bring some of the things to the table because you guys are saying a lot of great stuff already. And I know that we're going to kind of touch on some of those things as well. So don't think I'm ignoring you. Mr. Hayes, man, welcome back. Good to see you again. I hope your son and the team, I hope they actually won in the playoffs. But listen, I just want to kind of give you some respect right now. Just taking the time away from doing things like just to support your son, that's a phenomenal trait for a father. And I want to make sure I put that out there to you. So again, congratulations to your son and their team, and congratulations to you, sir, for being there for your son in his time as they actually go out there and play and hopefully celebrate winning the championship. I hope. Um, but again, back to this, this interesting conversation, because I think you guys were right. Um, I think that question kind of opened up a door, because you guys started tapping into it. So we started talking about these things. How I look in this dress, or how does my hairstyle look? You guys kind of presented it. So I think I want to kind of pose this question, right? So you have dishonesty on one hand, which is kind of like disassociation from honesty. And we talked about honesty in the beginning, and honesty by definition is free of deceit or untruthfulness, just bottom line sincerity. So when you disassociate yourself from that, you have dishonesty, which is a lie. But then you also have this thing called the omission of the truth. And this talks about any form of it, right? And you hear some people in the past that may have addressed, these. It's just a little white lie. It ain't such a big deal. Gentlemen, what is your thoughts between the difference between dishonesty and the omission of the truth? Because I think this kind of gets after it.
There isn't one. There is no difference between dishonesty and the omission of the truth. A lie of omission is still a lie.
I think it's the same root. I mean, because I don't want to deal with something. So somebody say, hey, like, because women try to be slick. They'll say, who was all there? And you be like, oh, it was me, Dwayne, Gaddy, Chris. Not, or you would say, and then, you know how it is in the military, you use last names. Oh, it was Sergeant Johnson, Sergeant Hansberry, Sergeant Wilson, not realizing that two of those were women, but you ain't about to say that. Omit it. Just, well, I thought you knew.
Yeah,
okay. And that's why I like being in the cab. When I was in the cab, they ain't had none of them problems.
They didn't have no problems. You didn't have any of those problems.
We ain't had no women. We ain't had none
right.
of them problems.
So you didn't have the problems. I got it. Listen, but I agree, Chris. I think you hit the nail on the head. I don't think there's a difference, because if I omit any version of the truth, it's my intent to deceive you in some shape, form, or fashion. Like, I think when we look at it, like, lie is just a blatant reconstructive nature of the truth. I may tell you something totally 180 degrees outside of what reality is. But then on the other side, the omission of the truth, I leave out pertinent information, like Roland was just saying. I leave out pertinent information that can contribute to your full understanding. So I don't necessarily want you to get the full understanding of reality. I only want you to get the understanding that I need you to have for now, to where in the end, both versions, they are deceitful. Whether we call it the omission of the truth, whether we call it a white lie, it was just, oh, it wasn't that bad. No. A lie is a lie is a lie. And I think sometimes what we do is we want to nuke one person for telling a blatant lie, right? They pretty much told you something that wasn't truth, period. But then on the other hand, we want to have just a little bit of compassion because the person, they didn't necessarily tell the full truth. And I think that's a very dangerous game to play. Let me see. I think we gotta get on some of these people in the chat, man, because they're putting some information out there. Again, let me see. My friend Mr. Hayes, he comes back in swinging, right? It's knowing how the reaction will manifest. Unfortunately, neither one of us can handle some truth. I agree. That's exactly what it is. And here, and I want to kind of add to what he's saying, and I want to get you guys' perspective on this. I think a lot of times what we do, especially if I never experience an emotional response from you, I think a lot of times what we do is we look at some of the past reactions that we may have had, and then we say, well, I don't want to go through that again. Therefore, I'm just going to grandfather that in this situation, and then I'm just going to bend the truth for you because I believe that you have the capacity to respond like that last person did.
But I think that sometimes it's like, what's his name? What's the movie? You Can't Handle the Truth. Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson in I think it was A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. See, sometimes you can't handle the truth. Not saying you don't deserve the truth, but a lot of times I know, and everybody equates lying and all that deceit with cheating and relationships, but it's not all that. And I think we're gonna get into that later. But in this aspect, when a man can't take hearing his woman has done some things to another man that she's done with him, but he gonna ask those questions. His heart hurt, he angry and all that other stuff. He gonna be prying. Well, what you do? Did you do this? Did you do that? Because he's picturing what she did for him, and now it goes to that level. And it's like you just digging a hole, making yourself more upset when you can just take it as cheating, and either we're gonna deal with it and work together, or we gonna cancel everything and call it quits. But but what we do, we want the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and still lose in the end. When you can just say, okay, cheating is cheating, whatever happened, happened. You want details. And that's one of the things that men steer away from are details.
So I want to ask this because you said something key that we can't handle the truth, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but is that our decision to make?
I think that's handling the truth is a maturity thing. I think you have to be in a mature space, and a lot of these situations happen with immature people. That's why they gotta lie, because you're too mature to actually divulge everything. So you will lie about it and continue to lie about it until certain things are there. And I think if something is said, you should just get it all out in the open. Women to do that more than men, to my understanding, because men go piece by piece. Women in turn, they gonna say, "Okay, here you go, deal with it."
All right. I like
From my understanding, I see Gaddy over there. You know,
he pontificating.
yeah.
Nah, because I'm thinking back like on that analogy you use, right? Per se with the military. In connection with Coach's question just now. If 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 me as the husband understands my wife's immaturity, as you would put it, or if we go back a couple of weeks, past hurts that affects us effectively having certain conversations, is it not my job to, and by protecting from the truth, what I mean is knowing how to either bring the conversation across properly, or no, some of us, we just know some things we just not.
But if you are the culprit that lied, you can't say, "Well, I'm only going to divvy it out piece by piece."
I'm not talking about the lie. I'm talking about the omission part at this point, right? Because his for instance, right? If I know my wife can't handle the idea of me hanging out with women, it's going to turn into a problem, regardless if I did anything or not, right? And she goes, "Oh, what did y'all do today after work?" She's gonna say, "Hey, just a couple of NCOs got together, you know, hung out,
just chilling."
Conversation over. You know,
but do you see what that leads to? Now she's prying because who was there? Oh, it was just y'all. So now she's already in a certain space. What you're doing is adding anxiety to wherever she is.
Like, do you understand? Like, do you see why I said what I said about lying being a full-time job you do not get paid for? Look at all of the things that you have to do because you didn't tell the truth right out the gate.
And then
I'm
once
not
you
trying
say,
to do that,
and he gonna say, "Huh," one time, and it, huh.
Right. I'm not trying to do that. I would rather say, "Hey, this is what happened," and move on with my life, because you're not about to interrogate me. That's just not about to happen. So here's the truth. Boom. There it is. I like you and respect you enough to tell you the truth instead of trying to protect your feelings or not suffer the consequences of me telling the truth because you might not like what I'm doing. Look, I did it. It is what it is. Either we're going to deal with it or we're going to move on. Pick your poison. But I am not about to sit here and be interrogated about something that I know I did. And I'm not about to sit here and interrogate you over something you know you did when you can just be honest with me.
I
Here's
get
what.
interrogated though at
So,
home, so I don't really have those deep. I don't have those problems too far. But I know if, and sometimes I can tell my wife, yeah, we're not gonna go further in that conversation, and we're not, not in a disrespectful manner. It's just we're just gonna live right there, you know. But that trust is built in there that she knows that I know what conversation we're gonna have or we're not gonna have because I understand her, right? So I think that that's a whole nother conversation, right? That we're not gonna get into, but and it's not an interrogation thing. But for me, I feel like it's a responsibility thing. I understand what hurts or what traumas or what issues my wife brings to the table, and I'm not going to trigger them on purpose.
You done triggered them
How?
because you lied.
I didn't lie. I
Listen,
just told you
So,
that a few of us went
listen,
out to
listen,
have some
listen,
drink.
listen,
see,
listen.
go ahead, Chris.
Their triggers and how they deal with them is their responsibility. It
Yes.
ain't mine.
Yes.
I'm not about to sit here and leave stuff out just to make you feel good because you might be triggered. Go get some therapy and get over it. I'm going to be honest. I listen, I'm gonna be honest and I'm gonna be righteous. I cannot tell you that I love you and not be honest with you. The two I cannot think of an instance where those two go together unless it's a surprise that's a positive thing. Like I'm taking you to a party that you ain't supposed to know about that's for you, or I'm about to propose to you, but I don't want you to know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna take you there. Like little stuff like that, okay. I'm going to tell a little white lie just to get you there. But if it's anything aside from that, no, I work too much as it is. I'm not trying to work any more than I already do.
yeah. Here's
And
what I like.
lying is work.
It is. Here's why I like where you're going with this. And Twami, thank you for bringing interrogation to the conversation because I wanted to get there anyway. Here's why I like what you're saying so much because on the flips, like, so the first idea is that if I tell a white lie or I omit some version of the truth, then that causes the other person to ask questions for the sake of understanding. Nothing wrong with that if you don't understand completely. However, on the flip side of it, and I want to make sure I say that on the flip side of it, if you have a person who used to be in a relationship that they were accustomed to being lied to, and now they view you through the lens of suspicion, everything that you do, they have questions about. One thing about me, I do not allow myself to be interrogated. You can ask me some questions for understanding, but once I realize that you are interrogating me because you actually view us through the lens of suspicion, then I
And
won't
trying to
allow
find
that.
something wrong.
Right. I won't allow that to happen. And it's not me being secretive. It's not being, it's just that we need to have an understanding here. Right. Because I always say the Bible never tells you to trust man. The Bible tells you to trust in the Lord and lean not to your own understanding. At this particular point, you interrogating me is you leaning to your own understanding. And what I will not do is be subject to your understanding because everybody in this world has a very limited understanding. No one has complete awareness but one person himself. And so with that being said, what we should do is get to the point to where we can communicate. That's number one. Communicate honestly, openly, and receive information from an open-minded perspective. So thank you for bringing that to the table. Listen, I seen a friend of mine that I haven't talked to in years. There he is. Shout out Mr. Gary Link, man. It's so good to see this young man. Greetings, Gary. I pray that all is well with you. And he kind of hit the nail on the head here. Men are very competitive with each other. We get caught up in the comparison trap. Men feel the need to avoid admitting failure. I think that's a great point as well because sometimes what we can do is we get caught up in our own cycle of thinking and we don't realize that the person that we may be with or the people that we're around, just because you didn't achieve the level of success that you thought you should have achieved, that doesn't mean you failed. And sometimes we'll kind of bend the truth based upon what we tell them, just so that we don't necessarily disappoint them or they don't look at us different. And it's kind of like what Lisa brought to the table earlier. So again, great to see you, Gary. I pray all is well with you, man, and welcome to the show. It's always good to see you, and you're welcome back at any point in time. Um, And as always, these gentlemen, they just add so much value. Now, this is where the bomb gets dropped, I believe. Situational honesty. I want you guys to kind of search your data banks, right? I want you to consider situations where dishonesty is more probable than not. Rolling, go ahead and get the sable round out, man. Go ahead, bro.
No, I'm
The
with Chris.
sable
on
round.
this. They don't know what that is. Gaddy Mike. But see, some things, like when it's you talking about surprises, and like me, I'm a comedian by nature. So some of what I may say is meant to mislead you in a joking fashion. There's a difference between a joke and a lie. Both are meant to deceive, but at the end of the joke, you will find out the truth. But situational dishonesty, I think, where if your intent is to deceive somebody for your gain or for your ability to be at ease with yourself, then it's wrong. Period.
Give me an
There's no
example.
right in it.
Give me an example.
If I say I use money, if you know you and your partner, wife, whatever, spouse, husband, y'all have an agreement to do such and such with the money, and all of a sudden you say, well, I needed to put new tires on the car, and you didn't really need that, but you did that and something else, then that's a situation where your dishonesty was for your betterment. It wasn't for the whole. It was for something that you wanted.
So what I'm understanding you say, if any situation to where I put me at the forefront of the situation where I'm protecting myself or doing for myself, then that is a situation where it can potentially be dishonest or it put some dishonesty in the atmosphere.
Definitely.
Hmm, I like it. And I'm glad you brought money to the equation because I think that's one of the biggest things we lie about. And
Mhm.
I think this is just my own personal belief. You're not going to find this anywhere. I believe that when it comes down to finances, there needs to be an understanding on how we're going to handle money. Anything over a set amount, we need to have a sit down and a conversation about it. You're cool to spend $300 on you. I don't care about that. Go spend $300. But if it's 301, we need to sit down and have a conversation. And if you spend 301 or whatever, and we didn't discuss it, you have now violated an agreement that we've had. That is dishonest. That is the omission of the truth, right? I also believe when it comes down to it, and I don't want to believe that this exists, but unfortunately, I have personal experience with this. I believe sometimes when it comes down to money, people look at how they can use it for their own selves. Whether it's just going out shopping, whether it's buying whatever. And sure, the one item may not have cost this amount of money, but what they'll do is they'll buy a multitude of items that's on sale and exceed the agreed upon amount, and then they don't believe that it was outside of the agreement.
Sound like you pointing fingers, man.
Who my point fingers at?
Because I think three of us in here, we done went in the closet and seen stuff in there with tags on it. Then they be like, "Oh, that ain't new." Like, when you get it? But it got tags on it still in the closet. Yes.
So I want to say in front of everybody, I did not know this, so don't shoot me. But I'm just being honest. I think, and again, this kind of goes back to the scriptures, right? The love of money is the root of all evil. I think we have to understand that it is a necessity to be totally honest across the board. Transparency. Like we need to be honest across the board so that we can avoid any type of anxieties that has the potential to creep itself in our situation, in our relationship. Right? Money is that thing. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
I just got to ask this question because I got a couple of preachers on here. I'm just a novice. And I just want to ask this question. And I'm gonna shut up and be the young man that I am and respect my elders, right? Yeah.
Sound like a setup.
I'm the eldest.
Sound like a setup.
It does.
But y'all remember when Hebrews 11 allured to the woman from Joshua, Rahab, and he said what he said. He said, by faith, Rahab the harlot did not perish alone. I can't remember exactly how she hit the spies, right? Um, and I'm paraphrasing, so
I
those of
get
you
you.
in the
I got
chat
you.
See where
that
you're
might be
going.
scholars, forgive me. But y'all remember how Paul in Hebrews said by faith, right?
Hmm.
And but in the story in Joshua, she lied to protect those slaves. So would that not be situational? I'm just asking for a friend. I just want to hear from the preachers in the room. I just want to slide that in there. And
I
I'm
like how you slid
I
that in.
did. I do too.
And that's that. See, that's one of those things where the situation will dictate what needs to be said. Because if it's a situation where you're trying to deceive for the betterment, that was for life, protection of life for the spies. I think you said slave. Uh, and that situation, because I've been in some situations where I'm from Detroit. I'm just gonna say that. Where hey, you saving somebody's life by not telling them where some people are or what really happened. That's different than you talking about your money. You talking about your little infidelities. Oh well, somebody might die in that situation too. But
yeah.
you
I
Uh,
know,
think. I think in response to what he is saying, I'm gonna use myself for an example. When I was in the army, I used to live by a phrase, and I still secretly live by this phrase today, and I'm not ashamed to tell it. I tell a person in a heartbeat, if it ever comes to it, I will lie for you before I lie to you. And I think from that concept, and it's not just I'm just gonna lie for you just because you decide you want to sleep in. If you did that, that's on you. That has nothing to do with me. But if it protects you from harm, that's a different thing because I think human life is far more important than my own ego or my own perspective of righteousness at that point. And there's a young man, like he does not cease to tell me how much he appreciate what I did for him in his military career. In his career from that point on, I mean, it skyrocketed because I had an honest conversation with him. I literally put my career on the line for him, and from there, I mean, he brings it up a lot, and I tell him I said, you don't have to, but I appreciate him recognizing that. So in that scenario, I think when you look at it from the big, which is the worst of the two, right? Is it worse for me to tell a lie to protect these people, or is it worse for me to be honest and then watch these people perish? Well, if I get to protect people, if me sacrificing myself, here we go, Chris. If me sacrificing myself for this moment, right? If it protects somebody, then I will sacrifice myself. I
I,
think,
I got to pause right here because I
yes,
got to
sir.
make sure we bring this up. Gaddy, you'll know. Chris, you'll know. Coach is very astute and everything. But that country was about to come out when that brother said "worser." He was about to say "worser."
I'm gonna let him live.
You heard it.
Yeah,
You
I was
heard it,
gonna let it
right?
go.
I
I
can't
was
do
going to let it go.
It was
Me
on the tip
too.
of my tongue. I'm not gonna lie. I almost said it.
it.
I caught it. I caught it.
No,
Worse is in the dictionary. I don't. It depends on which one you read. Okay. So
But
yeah,
I get what
yeah.
you're
no,
saying. I understand what you're saying about lying to protect as opposed to lying for self.
right.
I
And I
I
think
get
every
that.
leader has done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Roland, I get what you're saying about lying to protect people too, because I've saved a couple of lives by saying I don't know where this dude is.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what you're talking about. Situational honesty sometimes comes up to protect, but I don't believe in situational honesty. I don't believe in situational honesty and self-preservation. You
Okay.
understand what I'm saying? Like I just don't believe that. Like if I did something, hey, I did it. It is what it is. But if you looking for somebody that I care about because he did something, I'm not gonna be like, I know where he is, go get him. I'm gonna say, I don't know where he is. If you find him, so be it. That's just me.
Mhm.
And see, I think at this point, this is where I have to inject this into the scenario as well, because and just going back to me, I didn't do it because I trust the young man was going to do the right thing going forward. I did it because the young man was trustworthy. He and I have the same belief system. We kind of move in the same spaces. Like he has potential that he had not tapped into yet. He just got caught up with the wrong crowd. We don't trust, and I mentioned that previously. The Bible never told you to trust man, but what we should be doing is surrounding ourselves with people who are trustworthy. And trustworthy is one thing, right? If you're trustworthy, then I will sacrifice myself for you. Again, I will lie for you before I lie to you. And it's lie for you for the sake of your growth, for your development, for you moving from this space to this space. Why? Because you see how elders actually not only coach, teach, and mentor, but we will sacrifice ourselves for the development and growth of the younger generation. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about here as well.
Yeah.
So
And
all good.
if I can, I think
Yes,
what you
sir.
just really broke down for us was loyalty, because that's where the problem really becomes. With everything we talked about with our spouses, with our friends, with our family, or the preservation of another life, right? It's about loyalty to one another. And I think that's where this whole thing gets muddy when we talk about the difference between situational dishonesty or being honest or just owning up to what you did, whatever that scenario may be. It all comes down to the bottom line. Are you loyal? Can I trust you to be loyal to me as my brother, as my friend?
See, I'm glad you said that, Gaddy, because I think that loyalty thing comes up in situations in families where it's a one-sided thing, where you got that old perverted uncle and he touching on the little girls, and they saying, no, family business is family business, don't tell
F
nothing.
that.
That
Exactly.
yeah,
I'm with you there.
yeah.
And they say, well, you ain't loyal to the family because you told on Uncle Charles. Uncle
Then it
Charles is
is
a
what it
pervert.
is.
They need to tell him he need to be locked up.
Yeah,
Chop his hands off. I told my daughters, I said ninja. If a ninja put his hands on you like something, chop him off. Do something, chop him off. We'll deal with whatever. But ain't none of that. Mm-mm.
I don't do
And,
blind loyalty either. I'm not gonna
and
do
loyal
blind
and
loyalty just
loyalty
because we
has to be
related.
a two-way street. It's not a one-way where I'm just loyal when you do some dumb stuff. Because I had back in the day, I had, all of us are NCO. You talking senior NCOs. I get a call 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, my wife gonna call you. Say I was with you and I fell asleep on your couch. Like,
No,
don't
sir.
put me in that situation.
No, sir.
Now I'm lying to your wife because you lying to your wife. Nope, don't put me in that situation.
No, sir. And so this is why, and I agree with you, but this is why I brought the idea of trustworthy, because I can't be loyal to somebody who's isn't trustworthy.
hmm
I can't be loyal to Uncle Charles because Uncle Charles isn't trustworthy. You see what I'm saying? He doesn't value the people in our family like we do, right? And I think that's the concept to where we can commit to each other for a higher purpose. That's the goal. The goal is always for a higher purpose. If and I think this is kind of gets after what Mr. Hayes is saying here, right? When Rahab did what she did, it was for a higher purpose, right? Sure, it was a lie, but the lie was for a higher purpose. And I think that's where we have to be when it comes down to the space. Sure, there are going to be situations to where it's going to challenge us to a certain degree from an integrity perspective. And yeah, I got it. It's going to compromise certain things. But again, if it's for a higher purpose, then absolutely. But only for those people who are trustworthy, not somebody who's out there about some foolishness. You call me 2 o'clock in the morning, tell me to lie to your wife. I'm about to hang up on you. You about to
Yeah.
get the dial tone. In fact, why you calling me, waking me up out of my sleep anyway?
I was
Kevin
about to
Hart.
say I might cuss you out. It's
Hey,
2 o'clock in the morning. Get off my phone and quit being
Well,
dishonest with your wife. That's your wife. What's wrong with you? That might be the conversation I have. Don't
but it
know.
gets
I'm
deeper.
not doing that. And if I see you in the streets, I'm slapping you.
It gets deeper for soldiers, right? Let's just be real, because the moment your wife found out you lied and caused your command, now she put me into it. So you weren't even loyal to me by trying to put me in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
How can I be loyal to someone? If you asking me to just blatant lie like that, you don't really have no true loyalty in this friendship. And now this friendship just took a route to become a one way relationship.
Yeah.
And
I'm starting to think that the military and blood family kind of have the same thought process when it comes to loyalty on a wider scale. Like, I'm supposed to be loyal to you because we're in the same military branch or we're on the same base. Like with family, I'm supposed to be loyal to you no matter what, just because we're family. I
No,
don't do blind loyalty.
I don't think it's a blind thing. I think sometimes people take advantage of your loyalty,
Right.
and they try
Mhm.
to. But I'm not that dude. I'm not that. It's just like in the family. I'm not the guy that's gonna hold on to your little public secrets and stuff like that. I'm not that guy.
Yeah,
Now, what I will do is we can be honest with one another, and I would expect that. And what I will do is try to help you as much as I can, or point you in the right direction to get the help that you need. But it's all coming out, and I'm not about to hold it. Because if I'm holding your mess and I already got my own mess, I'm just walking around smelling like a bunch of mess.
Right. And just to kind of caveat off of what Roland said, the personal example I just gave, it wasn't just me doing what I did for him. Oh, we had a conversation. There was some things I needed him to understand and some things I needed him to promise me for himself moving forward. It wasn't anything that he gave me. I just asked him to allow me the privilege to see him change the way that he do business and progress in his military career. So it was kind of like me taking the challenge and putting it back on him. I'm gonna do this for you, but this is what I need from you in return. I need you to do better, be better, behave like the individual that you want in your head, right? I'm not trying to put it on you. I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be the best version of yourself, but I want to see it come to fruition. That was a conversation we had. And he told me that's probably one of the most empowering conversations that he had, and he never forgot it. So again, just one of those things. I believe that that's kind of like um, what we're looking at when you made mention of the military and that blind loyalty. Roland's right. It's not blind loyalty. It's you. First and foremost, everybody in the military is under what we call the Army ethics. The
yeah,
Army ethics is a code that we're supposed to pattern our life as, just like the Bible says. The problem is everybody don't believe in the Bible, and I'm okay with that. Whatever a person believes in, I'm okay with that, right? So the code of ethics helps to shape your character through what is called the Army values. So the Army values help to create you into be the man, the woman, or whatever you want to call yourself today, that the Army deems to be a professional. With that being said, now you can band together as what we tend to call a band of brothers, right? You can band together, understanding that, look, this is an extension of my family. And we get to the point that we behave like that. I think in life, in the civilian sector, we have the potential to do that. The issue is both in the military and civilian sector, Fortune 500 companies, down at the rail yard, down at the minefield, wherever you want to go. You have people who always try to extract something for self. Like they don't want to take the risk for somebody else. They want everybody else to take the risk for me. Like, what you gonna do for me? What can I get for me? Like me, 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 and me. And the unfortunate part about that is this always exists, no matter where you go. And I went through all of that because I believe that's one of the reasons why people choose dishonesty over honesty. They get to the point to where they make themselves the center of the tension, and it's something else I'm gonna tap into a little later. I want to give you guys a mic, but they make themselves the center of attention, and then from there they struggle with trying to connect and commit to anybody and esteeming them higher than themselves. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
Hmm.
I think it's all about saving your tail, saving your own tail. And whether it's situational I think we all need to, when it comes to lying, I think first and foremost, when you're lying, is it for, if it's superficial things, I think it's more or less to save your tail from the scrutiny, save your tail from the embarrassment, save yourself from. I think that would be when it comes to situational lie. Now, why choose dishonesty over honesty? Sometimes I've been in situations in the military where you had to, like you were saying, Coach, to help further along somebody's career because if this comes out, this is too damaging and they can't recover from this. So if and it's not that I'm gonna lie for you, but I'm not gonna tell the full extent of what happened.
Yeah.
Because if I wasn't there, I'm not gonna validate what he did. And if you don't know exactly what he did, and I've had leaders try to hem soldiers up and talking about we got DNA evidence, and I'm like, just happened 4 hours ago. You sent this to Hawaii and come on, now be realistic. So it's my job to protect the soldier then. Because now you're lying, trying to get them to tell on themselves.
Right.
So
I'm going to speak from the civilian side.
Of course.
Why do we choose dishonesty over honesty? Like Roland said, it's mostly self-preservation. Like in my case, it's difficult to be honest with my parents or my elders because being honest with my parents or my elders, if I'm not telling them that they were perfect, is disrespectful. It's difficult to be honest with women in relationships because most women aren't used to direct honesty. And to be real, a lot of men out here aren't fully honest. So they get used to men not being fully honest because most men will argue a point up to the point where they're afraid of the temper tantrum that the woman is going to throw, or they're afraid that they're not going to get none. It's self-preservation. This is how I see it. This is why I'm always this and this is why, like I said, this is why I've grown to be honest and straightforward, because I'm not going to allow you to use any weapon that you think that you have against me to make me go outside of my character. That's just not gonna happen. Family, friends, women, no. Don't ask me something if you don't want the truth. Don't ask me something if you don't want me to be honest. And me being honest it's not a personal attack on you. It's me being honest. Maybe I'm saying something about the behavior. That might be another reason why we choose dishonesty over honesty, because a lot of people can't tell the difference between me speaking on the behavior that you're asking me about or me talking about you directly and saying that you're a bad person. And there's a difference. But sometimes those two get conflated.
I like it.
I think Michelle hit on it a little bit in the chat earlier when she said we were taught to be dishonest because we were taught that honesty to our elders came across as disrespect, something like of that sort. Yeah.
That I'm a disrespectful soul.
And that's real. You have to understand. I believe that the shock effect or trauma is what conditions us and what teaches us. And after being told so much as a young child to stay in the child's place or this, that, and the third, we tend to be conditioned that what we say or who we are has put us in a placement in life. Just as children, as husbands, we're taught we're at a placement in life to where we can't be honest about our spouses or our girlfriends' looks or whatever the case may be. We're taught these things that, things such as you can't ask a woman her age. And, I get that. But these things have put us in spaces or in a box of dishonesty because of limitations. And that has become the norm through life. So throughout life, we have been taught sometimes it's easier to just keep your honesty inside to refrain from repercussion. And it still all boils down to the same thing. We lied to protect our own tail, right? Like Rogan said. It comes down to the same thing. But this is why we choose dishonesty over honesty, because we have always been taught what to refrain from, or in another sense, what not to be honest about to keep yourself from getting in trouble.
Hmm.
You
I
know,
like it.
I remember in church as a teenager, we had a female preacher in my church who, and I don't want to say no names, and I hope nobody from his church watches this episode now
Uh-oh.
and remember, and then I didn't know the story. And she married a Jewish man, right? Me being a teenager, I responded with, "Well, aren't we not supposed to be unequally yoked? Stay in the child's place." And that created a whole scenario where I was just being told what not to say, what not to. I said, "But don't we teach Bible?" Well, you got to understand, God sends who you love. So now I'm taught that I can, now on top of being dishonest, I was taught to reinterpret scripture to benefit my life. I'm leave that part alone.
Ooh.
But it's the things that we have been conditioned into that it almost seems like we can't help it anymore.
I think you're right. Um, I, I really like the fact that number one, Michelle put that in the chat. And I really like the fact that you guys kind of stuck there for a second because I believe that is 100% fact. I believe there are some things, even though they were for our good, they were perceived the bad way or perceived in a bad way. Sure, there should have been discipline that took place within a household, but also, I think what could have potentially happened is that there could have been more discussion about why the discipline is necessary at this particular point. And because we did not necessarily get that discussion, there was the self preservation piece that came in now. Now I am going to kind of bend the truth to see if I can get out of this. I think that exists. Also, moving forward, I think we kind of touched upon it previously. If I attempt to be honest with you, and I receive a unwanted emotional outburst, you're teaching me that honesty is not necessarily the thing to do within this space. So now you only want to hear information that is pleasing to you. Therefore, I'm only going to share the information that I know is pleasing to you. I believe that those both perspectives are true when it comes down to, why I choose dishonesty over honesty. But I will also add another piece to it as well, and this is what I tend to call character dishonesty. I talk about it a lot of times when it comes down to, we like to talk about positive affirmations, and positive affirmations are a good thing as long as we have the belief system to support the affirmation that we're quoting. If we do not have the belief system to support the affirmation that we're quoting or trying to attain, then the only thing the positive affirmation becomes is a lie to anybody that you share the positive affirmation with, because I'm not necessarily pursuing that positive affirmation. And I think that's important because unfortunately, sometimes when we just want people to believe that we're in a particular space that we're not. So we got to be careful when it comes down to choosing dishonesty over honesty, when it comes down to, again, self preservation and self um, kind of like grandizement. I want you to believe that I'm more than who I really am. Therefore, I'm going to construct the conversation just so that you can look at me differently. But once we're done in the space that we're in, I am going to go back to doing what it was I was doing because I never believed anything that I told you.
Just like you just said, it's all about how I look. And society teaches from a little kid, they teaching them to lie. Because now, if you don't have the long hair, if you don't have the BBL, if you don't have the big boobs, if you don't have a certain skin complexion, or like all the guys now, they dyeing their beards. I used to do it too, dye my beard. Then I'm like, one day my boy, he told me, he said, "Hey, get this dye," and I sprayed this stuff on, and I swear it was like running down my doggone head. But because you're worried about your imperfections, so you want to put on a front for everybody else and act like they aren't there anymore. And that's what lying is. I'm scared of what truth really is about myself. I put on the Spanx, fellas getting little pecs and leg implants and stuff. And it's like I'm doing all these changes. I'm lying to the world so that you can accept me for who I actually want to be.
I'm not doing none of that.
You're not. But society telling everybody else that's what we want to see.
Right. Yeah. I get what you're saying, but that just seems like a lot of work when just being yourself could relieve a lot of this stress. I understand what you're saying. The mainstream media has put in our heads that we need to be a certain way, look a certain way, make a certain amount of money. I understand that.
How many times have you heard, and I've heard this in many situations, scenarios, where a woman allows her hair to grow out of her head, how it grows. And then other people will be like, why are you letting your hair be so nappy? Or why you this, that, and the other? You need to press that. You need a relaxer. You need, it's like, hold up. You telling me I need to burn chemicals and all that in my head so that I can look like the people on TV, so that I can use this image and not be who I was made to be.
Because we got to be accepted by those whom we probably don't need to be accepted by.
Screw all of that. What Bernie Mac say in House Party 3? Boy, be yourself.
Up against the wall.
If people don't like it, if you're being yourself, F them. When I saw that's my life. Listen, nobody can be me like me. So why not just be myself?
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing. I don't have to be liked by everybody. And I know everybody isn't going to like me. I'm not going to like everybody. It is what it is. That's a part of life. That's something we got to deal with.
Hey, gentlemen, here's what I realized. Life has taught me, because I used to be that kid, you know, especially when you didn't have, and you was made fun of for not having, or when you did have it, but you shouldn't have, like holes in your shoes walking to school, you know. So I remember what it was like trying to become something. When I finally got money, joined the military, I used to buy a pair of Jordans and a fitted to match every paycheck, because I had to be fresh, because I was never fresh. I couldn't afford to be. So I had to try to, and the people I attracted were not the people that I really liked around me. The reality is, if you are just who you are, the people who need to be around you will be attracted to you, because you're attracting people from a crowd you don't even like, just so you won't be talked about. And the people you actually like are not going to follow you because they're associating you now with the other crowd. Just be honest within yourself.
Do me a favor, Miss Jordan. She kind of put a question up here. Shout out to Charlotte Jordan. Welcome to the show. Always good to see you. Do you think our approach affects how others receive our honesty?
Approach.
I think no matter what you say, how you say it will always affect how it's received, right? But and it goes to just something I believe. I think, and not everybody agrees with me, and you know, frankly, that's cool, right? But Roland has been my brother, my big bro, my homie since the day I met him. He's always held me down from jump, right?
I'm a pretty cool guy.
But you know, I say towards me. Now other people got some other stuff to say, but nah. but me as a brother to Roland, I am responsible for understanding my brother, and responsible for knowing, not being dishonest to him, but knowing how to approach him or how to address him, because that's my brother. And if we're going to continue this relationship as brothers and friends, there is a level of responsibility we have to not purposely trick each other, right? So I'm not gonna come to him and I got a home I got a well, an old mentor back in New York who don't like black men using the N word, right? I grew up using the N word every other word. So when I went to him, I understood if I use the N word, he's gonna send me away. Either now come back to me when you know how to talk. So if I wanted to get a proper response from him, I had to tailor my approach. I know I I, I know Roland fit the code for that, but that's
Can,
just
You a better one than me.
I don't think honesty has to be. You don't have to make honesty pretty. It is what it is. I think when because I like you're not gonna be disrespectful. That's a given. But sometimes you got to tell somebody, dude, your shit stink. You need to cut it out. You need to cut it out because you destroying something. And it's like in Jude when they talk about pulling them out of the fire, you gonna get burned with that. And if I'm getting burned, I'm helping you realize I'm getting burned because when you're hurting you, if I'm your friend, it's hurting me. If I'm not your friend, I'm just gonna let you wow, do your thing.
yeah. So I got you. I got you, Mr. Gaddy. Give me 2 seconds here. I just want to kind of jump in on that. So this kind of reminds me of the conversations that I tend to have with people about the love languages, right? Because you've probably heard me say it before. If you've read the love languages, you understand the different types of love languages. And a lot of time, what society says, well, this is my love language. My love language is physical touch. Therefore, you must spend more time with your hands on me because my love language is physical touch. No, that's wrong. You understanding what your love language is simply so that you can grow in the other five, not manipulate one person to conform to what you now know about yourself. And I think when we look at it from that perspective, that kind of helps us to understand the potential of what we understand to be fuller and richer relationships that presents the opportunity for vulnerability. I can't manipulate another person to be exactly what I want them to be simply because I have constructed this thing, this maze that they have to maneuver through just to get to me. That is far too difficult and far too stressful. And I think the exact same thing exists when it comes down to this question that she is asking. Do you think our approach affects how others receive our honesty? Let me be completely transparent. We might be from two polar opposite ends of the United States or the world for that matter. So your upbringing looks different than mine. Your perception of me being sneaky might be more about you than it is about me. And so, what we really need to understand is do a better job at understanding each other instead of focusing on what I think you are currently doing in this situation. If you share with me, say, hey, I don't like Liberty University, that's okay, right? I'm good with that. However, if I want to manipulate you, right? Why you don't like Liberty University? You know what I'm saying? I used to go to Liberty University. You know, you should like Liberty because this a Bible school, blah, 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 blah. You see what I'm saying? So it's not so much about my perception of what you're doing as opposed to me having a better understanding of what you're doing. And if I don't like your approach, that's okay. Maybe I just need to learn more about you to understand why the approach exists. Just my thoughts.
I think there's a lot of possible variables that makes this conversation harder. Uh, because I remember growing up, right? There was a very popular person in our youth facility, right? And I was always taught, respect and demand respect, right? Uh, but this specific person had the tendency to talk to everyone like they were beneath her. And this was when we were young. She had this commanding, well, this is who I am. You need to figure out who I am and adjust yourself to me. No, but you're not gonna disrespect me. And and at the end of the day, I shouldn't have to adjust what I accept as respect or disrespect because you don't know how to speak to people. So I think I think the relationship thing it's both ways. I don't think it's an absolute either way,
Right.
because we are, even though I'm saying I have a responsibility to you, my brothers, to understand you, but it also goes vice versa. We both have we all have a responsibility to each other, and then we have a responsibility, of course, to whether the outcome that we desire, or or the response we require from whatever we're trying to do. So I do agree. If the situation is a nasty situation, then maybe something it might have to be said in a nasty manner, right?
Yeah.
You know what he said on life, because I'm nasty. No, but 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 the reality is, sometimes we got to ask ourselves, what's the goal before I approach this situation? What is the goal? What is the desired outcome? And that should, me knowing you and how you will respond, should affect how I approach you concerning whatever my desired outcome is.
Right.
So I think the responsibility overall is just it's full circle. We're all responsible on both sides of the spectrum to each other as a community.
Yeah. And I think that last piece you said is the higher calling that I talked about previously, because this is more important than me as an individual. Then I move in the direction of that. And I think that's the place that we have to get to when it comes down to this honesty piece. Shout out to MJ. Always good to see you. And thank you so much for that message that you left on our last podcast, man. That was so uplifting to me. I don't know if they seen it. They hard headed. But no, we greatly appreciate that, and I believe you're correct. I think it's more so of regulating our emotions. I don't like to use the word manage because we can't control our emotions, but I think it's regulating, right? Understanding what they are and why they exist for certain things, and then getting to the point to where we start thinking, feeling, and choosing better when it comes down to expressing these emotions. Real quick, because I know we have been, leaning deep into this. How can we become more honest? Like, how can I increase my honest capacity, or not capacity, my honesty quotient? How can I increase that?
I think, well, I'm going to tell you what helped me. I paid attention to how my body felt when I lied. And I said, I don't want to feel this no more.
Mm.
I'm cool. Like I was I was embarrassed that I was feeling that way. Like, ugh. Like I said, man, when you lie, there's a chemical reaction that goes through your body, which is why you feel this cold rush and this pit of quote unquote butterflies when you lie, because your body know you're not telling the truth. Like your body knows that you come on, man. And the worst thing that you can do is lie to your body, because your body is gonna make you tell the truth on the inside on how you feel. So just listen to your body. When you know you're about to lie, your body goes through a transformation. So when you feel that, you already know, okay, I'm about to do something that really isn't honest. So maybe I shouldn't do it. And then don't do it. And you'll feel a whole lot better about yourself, because then you won't have to remember 25 other things on top of the thing that you were dishonest about. You could just be honest about what it is straight up.
But I think we all know some people, when they pop up, what he about to lie about now? We do.
Hey, listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. That used to be me.
Mm.
That used
I
to
got
be
a
me.
partner. I got a partner. I grew up with him since preschool, and every time he would tell you something, it was like, and he could do. It's like, dude, you super Negro, man. You cut all that out. You making stuff up, And I call people out. I don't care. I'm not one that care about feelings when it comes to stuff like that. But ways to become more honest. I think first, when you become honest with yourself, because I think the first, or the person most lied to, if you are a liar, is yourself. You say, some people lie to themselves, and this is where I want to go with it. I think where you lie to yourself, you tell yourself you aren't good enough. You tell yourself, I can't make it. You tell yourself a lot of things that you can't do to talk yourself out of what you could do if you put that same energy and effort into it. So if
Me
you
and Coach
stop
just
lying
had
to
this conversation. That is
if you
so
stop
funny.
lying to yourself so much, if you stop doubting yourself, when you're secure in here, you ain't got to lie to nobody else. Because no matter what nobody else does, I got to live with me. And it's like you, if I'm good with me, if I feel good about me, hey, I got a dad bod. I ain't got no six pack. I ain't got no big old biceps and all that. I ain't worried about it because I'm cool with me. And when you get cool with yourself, when you love yourself, when you aren't like what somebody else, oh, it's what you say gonna really move me one way or another. No, because I'm concerned about how I live and how I treat people. So now I don't even have to worry about it. So whatever they doing, it's on them. But I think learn to be honest with yourself and love yourself, and then that's one of the ways for me.
I love it. Young Timothy.
Ooh, y'all said a lot, put a lot out there.
Well, you let the
Uh,
brother minister go before you. I done told y'all about doing that.
I didn't say you said let. He just started talking. I had my mouth open and everything. Nah, but part of what causes us to lie are sometimes insecurities. Sometimes it's what we're afraid of coming back to us from being truthful, right? Um, or like Coach said earlier, the fear of not being seen as successful as others, or whatever the case. So we become what we call, my generation call the one-uppers. Gotta one-up you because you were successful at this. I gotta be a little more better. You know, I think the first thing about being honest is understanding, one, everybody has their own road to travel and their own speed that they're going to travel it, right? If I'm embarrassed to talk to Coach because I don't have the degrees he has, then go to school, right? I'm not going to lie about, I hung around doctors of theology. That's cool and all, but if that insecurity is that insecurity is within yourself, and when you understand, no matter how much you lie, those fears and insecurities will remain all the time. It's not going anywhere. And the only thing you can do about it is adjust your life. Start moving towards your goals. And I think and I think that's only possible when you can be honest, you know. So ways to be, I don't know if there's a way to become more honest. You just gotta be willing to just accept your reality, and then be willing to change your reality if you're not happy with it. And that, you know, I think that helps with honesty. All of this is an internal battle.
You know
That's
what?
my take.
I agree with both of you guys. And as I start to set this up, I am going to do something in the background because I think you guys are spot on. I think also if you go back and look at how we kind of kind of set the conditions on the conversation that we had. I think we did that. We kind of reflected back on our past, talked about some things from the past, and then we started talking more so about, what a lie looks like, the difference between lie and the omission of the truth, things of that nature. Those are some of the things that we did. And I think everybody is absolutely correct. You got to go back and understand, number one, that yes, be honest with yourself. Yes, I do not always tell the truth, right? Chris hit a nail on the head that I really do believe in. You need to, once you get to the point, and I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna tell you what it looked like for me. When I got to the point that as soon as I told a lie, it would be like, why did you do that? Why did you tell them a lie when you had the opportunity to tell them the truth? And it may not have happened immediately in the midst of that conversation, but it may have happened after I walked away from that conversation, things of that nature. And then it just started dawning on me like, yeah, you had the opportunity to be honest, but you missed it And now you got to live with the fact that you were dishonest. Now, am I going to get hit by a bus right now? No, I did not. But it's just me knowing that I had the potential to be honest. And it was something just ridiculous. I had the potential to be honest, but I chose not to. So why did I choose not to be honest? Where did that come from? When did I first start doing these things? Now, understanding that, because that emotion is a thing, and this is why I talk about emotions. Emotions are indicators, right? And once we understand that, they're indicators, then we can look at ways to possibly change that. And in certain aspects of it, understand what it looks like to tell the truth, and then start celebrating every time that you do. Like, I had the opportunity to lie right here, and the thought came to my mind, but I chose not to. And all of this is all about what I like to call, um give me 2 seconds, I will show you, all about, yeah, becoming the person you want to be. The first thing that we need to understand is the reason why you do anything in life. It's all because of how you see yourself based upon your understanding of who you are. Since sometimes we got to go back to the drawing board and we got to restructure that person that we think we are based upon who our creator said that we are. Once we can get in there and figure out how to do that, who do I need to talk to? Who can help me do that? Who's going to sit down and study with me and help me to realize that I was, when I was created, the day that I was created, I was destined for greatness. I didn't acquire greatness along the way. No, I was destined for greatness coming out the womb when I was conceived. I need to understand that. Once I grasp that, then I look at all of the things that I do that is beneath that person that I'm supposed to be. And then I start slowly rooting those things out. And it's going to take a little time, and that's okay. Don't be so caught up in the amount of time that it takes to achieve perfection, because first and foremost, you're never going to achieve perfection. But the goal is to consistently pursue it. That means that you will incrementally get better. So the way that you actually get to the point that you can be more honest is to realize first that you have dishonest traits, and nobody's exempt, by the way, that you have dishonest traits, and that you intentionally move in the direction of being honest. You got to look at your surrounding as well. Do you surround yourself with honest people, or do you surround yourself with dishonest people? Do I surround myself with one uppers? Trust me when I tell you, one upper is a liar. I'm not going. I hate to say it that way. A person who has done everything better than you, get away from those people. Those people don't have the truth in them. I'm just going to be totally transparent. I don't like saying things like that about people, but trust me when I tell you that's an indicator. Anybody who has a better story than you every time you have a story, that person is not always truthful. So we need to be aware of our surrounding. Surround yourself with people that display the characteristics that you know that you can display. You may not necessarily have it right now, but you can get there. And I think when you do that, you will start becoming the person that you want to be. Did I put person there twice? I did. Don't worry about my penmanship. Don't worry
I
about my
was gonna say,
penmanship. You wouldn't go say nothing? Man, I need better
it
friends.
was already up
Listen,
there. I was hoping nobody else saw it.
I seen
It
it,
was
man.
already there.
Listen,
And he
yeah,
was already into it. See, I didn't
I
want to
was.
cut the flow. You
It's
was
all good,
going.
man.
Exactly.
Listen,
Exactly.
I
Hey,
understand I made mistakes.
but when you said it, you said becoming. I'm like, he made that work. I'm like, but it's hey, becoming
Right.
the person.
Oh, so you just gonna point out the rest of the flaws? Go
It was the emphasis. The emphasis.
Listen, coach made it work.
Listen, man.
Exactly.
Coach made
Yeah.
He
it
made
work.
it.
All right, so I take it back. I don't need better friends. I got the best friends on the planet. Listen, man. I've kept you guys for a long time. We're just gonna let that be our advice to everybody who's joined us. I want to make sure that I express our sincere, because we talk about you guys off camera. I'm gonna be honest with you, and we greatly appreciate you guys. I mean, I don't think you understand. We call you guys by name too. We appreciate the value that you add. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate your feedback. Again, share this. Shout out to you guys, because we had over 115 views last week on the last show. So again, we appreciate you guys, all the love that you share with us. Again, if this is your first time, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, share it with the people that you know, and continue to look at it. Use these things to teach lessons to your children. That's why we have these conversations. Listen, I'll be 49 this month. Best month in the year, best month of every year, by the way. December's, and shout out to everybody who has a birthday in December. Mine's the 30th, just so that y'all know. So don't send me
March
no present.
23rd, if y'all
Send
need
me
my cash app.
See, there you go. I just say don't send me no present. He putting out cash out. Listen, um, uh, I'm almost 49 years old, and I will tell you that if I had this when I was 10, even 15, there's no telling where I would be. So the reason why we do this is so that you can use these things as teaching points for your children. I think that's important to understand. We selflessly give our time for the development of our community because we believe in the brand. The brand is that we have the potential to be 10 times better than what I'm seeing right now in today's society. And again, we appreciate you guys. We believe that you believe the same things as well. And again, every Friday night, right here, 8 p.m., you will find the hearts of men. It would be myself, the brother, the brother minister, the young up and coming superstar in young Timothy, and we may have Uncle Junior as well. It all depends on what his schedule looks like. But listen, we just want to extend a sincere appreciation to you guys. Have a phenomenal weekend, and I'm here to say Michigan is still undefeated. I'm giving shout out to Roland this week, because I'm proud of Michigan, man. I'm proud of them. You guys have a
Rolling
great
down the
weekend.
street.
What's that now?
I was just singing rolling down the street.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next week when it comes down to our next episode of the Hearts of Men podcast.